Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson. Today, I'm bringing you an upcoming or a current IPO, actually. The name is Legacy Minerals. The ASX code will be LGM when it lists at the end of August. Joining me today is Chris Byrne. He's the managing director. And I have to say that these guys have done a lot of work prior to even getting to this stage. So they know what they've got, and it's in the Lachlan Fold Belt of New South Wales. It's a very exciting prospects that they've got out there. And I know you heard that all before, but we're going to deep dive into what they've got, why they're doing this. And I know, Chris, that you are pretty excited about what's coming up. Welcome to Small Caps. Good to see you.
Thank you very much for having me on Small Caps today, Kerry. It's great to be here to talk about the Legacy team and the projects that we've got.
Well, as I said, you've done a lot of work. You've done a lot of what I would call groundwork, but let's just start by helping our listeners understand who are Legacy Minerals. What is it you've got and what are you doing? Then we'll deep dive into each of the projects.
Okay, so Legacy was founded in 2017 with a focus on exploring for high-grade gold and copper prospects. We've got 5 projects within the New South Wales Lachlan Fold Belt. All of those are 100% owned by the company and unencumbered. What that gives us is a diverse exposure to various mineral systems. So we've got some Cobar type deposits with our Central Cobar project. We've got an epithermal system that we're targeting at Belura. And we've got a VHMS system at Fontenoy. We've got some high-grade golden quartz at Harden. And lastly, but definitely not least, is our porphyry copper gold target at Rockley, sitting in the Ordovician rocks there, targeting your Acadia, typical New South Wales Lachlan Fold Belt porphyry type system.
So those ones take a little bit longer to those porphyries are a little bit tricky, aren't they? They're like kind of finding the needle in the haystack, but when you find them, they get pretty exciting. So let's go through those projects one by one, and then we'll figure out, what is it that you're going to focus on first. So talk us through, should we start with Cobar?
Yeah, we'll start with Cobar. So we picked up Cobar in 2017, and since Legacy moved in there, there's been a real rush on tenement acquisitions in Cobar. So some big players have moved into the district. We really like Cobar because our tenement is an undrilled search base right next door to some world-class mines and deposits, which are home to Aurelia. It's an area that continues to receive government interest in co-funded exploration activities. And that's important because the government recognises Cobar as a district there. Discoveries, when they're made, often translate to mines. And there's 8 operating mines in Cobar at the moment.
Are there really? Wow.
Yeah, it's got, for New South Wales, the greatest density or cluster of operating mines. Won a winter with Manuka have come online recently. Peel have continued success in the region. So we really like our tenement out there. Geochemical anomalous. We've got gold in lag on the surface. Lots of late time conductors. So it's lots of geophysical anomalies as well. So it's a really exciting package. And it's really wide open to make some significant discoveries out there.
How did you get the package, and how big is the land size out there, and how much work have you done to date?
So out of Cobar, we've got about 180 square kilometres of land out there. 180,000 hectares is the conversion.
Yep.
So we've got a very tightly controlled package, which is based on a structural interpretation. So we picked up that land based off an assessment by the Geological Survey of New South Wales. They came out to sort of reinterpret the mineralisation understanding at Cobar and to pretty much say where people had previously overlooked areas, there are the potential for mineralisation to occur there. So we really based our approach or our acquisition off that scientific data and that interpretation. Being small and agile, it meant that we were really first movers in picking up ground out there. You currently would not be able to pick up any freehold ground in Cobar. It's a very busy district.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a great place to be. We're less than 5 kilometres from the town and about 4 or 5 kilometres from, the Peak Mill. So that's Aurelia's operating mine.
And you talked about 8 mines in the area. I guess the people around there are used to mining. They're supportive of what you're doing. Any potential issues around mining out where you are?
No, the landowners in particular are great. Cobar, like Broken Hill, they're mining towns built on the mines. The town are familiar. The infrastructure, and they've got a highly skilled workforce. So they're very, very, they see the value in what mining can do, working in the agricultural pastoral sense to really prop up those rural communities. So it is a great place to explore and one of the best places to explore in New South Wales.
And what have you done on that project to date?
So today we've had, actually as of last week or 2 weeks ago, we've just completed another aerial radiometric and magnetic survey that was co-funded with the New South Wales government. So we'll get the results of that towards the end of this year. We've done geophysical programs as well. Last year, again, the federal government and state government co-funded an aerial electromagnetic survey, which identified a lot of geophysical anomalies on the tenement. We've done soil programs, rock chipping, geological mapping. So we've done a fair bit of groundwork to develop high conviction targets that we plan to drill with the IPO use of funds.
So you're pretty confident that in the area that you have, there's mineralisation and there's a lot of work to be done, but there is something there. Yeah,
we've got gold in lag, 1.5 grams per tonne on surface. That's regionally significant in the Cobar Basin. So the source of that mineralisation, that gold, the arsenic and antimony anomalies that we're seeing, we haven't yet drilled that. That hasn't been tested. So we're quite excited to really get stuck into those areas and really try and unpack and understand where those systems are coming from.
Okay, well, I'm going to get into your drilling program in a minute, but let's go on to project number 2.
Yeah, so Belura. So Belura is actually the project where we will be drilling right, after the IPO is completed at the end of August. The reason why we're drilling Belura is we're drilling the Belura mine area in particular, which was a historic high-grade zinc-lead mine. But Belura is an epithermal system, and the importance of an epithermal system, as most people know, they're really high-grade silver and gold mines. That's the potential. So we've got bonanza silver grades down there from unmined production drive grading as high as 3,600 grams per tonne silver, 7 grams per tonne gold, and over 50% zinc plus lead. It's a very significant.
Hang on a second, Chris. How come no one else had picked this up before you guys came along? Because it's been mined before. When was it last touched?
It was last mined. Well, they tried to reopen it as a zinc lead mine in the 50s. And then since then, it has been held by various exploration companies. Yeah. But really, the systematic exploration work has not been completed across the tenement. So we're sort of the first company to 3D model the mine workings, digitize the data, really define those targets and the potential ore body system in there. There have been, probably the last major company that held it was a company called Robust Resources. And they held it in parallel with the project in Indonesia, which they had great success in. So it was essentially the poor cousin to the Robust success. It's completely untouched. We've got rock chips grading up to 39 grams per tonne in these veins, which we've mapped on surface, that are up to 2 kilometres long and 5 metres wide. So it's significantly under-drilled for what is one of the largest low sulphidation epithermal footprints in New South Wales.
Are you just a little bit excited, Chris? Because those numbers sound pretty good.
We are excited. The closest epithermal mine sitting above the porphyry is Cowes Evolution. So that sits about 90 kilometres to our northwest from where we are. We are in the Silurian Devonian, so it's not quite the same rock group as them, but the mineralisation is significant. And most people, the rock chips that we're getting and the textures are really textbook for what you would see in some really world-class mines like Krakow and Pajingo up in Queensland. So it excites us, and it excites a lot of the majors in the market as well, because epithermal systems are just real high-grade bonanza, and when they become mines, if they do, they just keep on giving in terms of their production life cycle. So
the gift that we're going to come back to Belura, but let's go to project number 3.
Yeah, which is Harden. So Harden, like Belura, it sits down in the Cootamundra region, which is really good in terms of the synergies for our drilling programs. So we plan to move the rigs immediately after the drill campaign at Belura straight down to Harden. Sits in a different type of mineralisation. We're looking for high-grade golden quartz here. We really like Harden. It's a long-forgotten historic gold mining district. The 2 mines there produced a combined 75,000 ounces at 28 grams, so really high grade, and have been untouched for 100 years since the last mining operation at Harden. So no one's drilled underneath the workings at Harden, and there's been no fresh rock since 1919.
And how deep was it? How deep did they drill then? Not probably.
They ran this mine to about 180, 200 metres. So it's reasonably significant for a pre-World War I mining operation. But they had the cost of production back then was obviously very different in terms of manual labour and operations, and they had a cut-off grade between 10 to 15 grams per tonne. So it's significantly open, both along strike, down plunge. We've recently completed soil samples down there where we've got gold in soils up to 5.9 grams per tonne. So that's not rock chips, that's in the soil.
Yeah.
So they're really high with multiple grading above half a gram. Great rock chips, as you'd expect from the sort of outcrop, graded 50 grams, from surface in some areas. But it sits in an alluvial district that produced between 500 and 700,000 ounces of gold. So it's a significant mining area. And to probably add to the point around, why hasn't anyone really looked there before? High-grade narrow vein quartz mining in New South Wales is not very common. Most people associate New South Wales with your big porphyry style mineralisation, your Broken Hill, your Cobar type, and then obviously your porphyries in, North Parks, for example, Cow, epithermal. But it wasn't until really Dargues Reef that, had they been going for a while, and Aurelia purchased Dargues Reef in last year for $200 million. That sits in the granodiorite. It's the same type of mineralisation system that we are looking for. Historically, Dargues Reef produced around 2,000 ounces of gold at around 14 grams. So that's in comparison to Harden, which produced 55,000 ounces at 24 grams. The difference between Dargues Reef is that someone drilled underneath that in the 1980s and 90s, and they drilled out a resource. And so that's how that discovery was made. So there's a real opportunity for us to define some really good, we're looking for near-term resource definition in our drill campaigns.
All right, let's go to project number 4, because so far they're all good projects.
Yeah, so project number 4, Fontenoy. So Fontenoy, again, sits in that Cootamundra region, but again, a different type of mineralisation style. So we're looking for a VHMS system, volcanic hosted massive sulfide. And what really excites us about Fontenoy is its scale. So Fontenoy has been explored by other companies and it has been drilled. It's got an 8-kilometre mineralised strike. So that's tip to toe. It's mapped in the geochemistry on surface and in drilling of mineralisation. It's copper gold. There's some nickel occurrences and, the potential for PGE type exploration in the area as well. Yep. So the focus historically has been on the copper gold mineralisation, and there's been some quite, we like to look at them as, essentially pre-discovery drill holes made by some companies in the 90s, early 2000s, where you're talking broad intersections, 79 metres at almost 0.3% copper. These type really broad, low-grade copper, intersects with, from surface and good low-grade gold intersections. What we're trying to do there at Fontenoy is really move away from the model of looking for these big low-grade, deposits and try to look for the structurally controlled, potentially moderate to high-grade zones. And that's very much similar to the way Staveley approached their exploration, the discovery, is you move away from trying to define the large, Thursday Gossam type deposit to focus on these high-grade, what's the feeding zone? So if you map 8 kilometres and you put down 20 drill holes across that 8 kilometres, they're very wide space. So there's a lot of opportunity to look for, these zones. So we're very excited by that project.
Righto, last project, because we're running out of time as well. Tell me about this last project.
Last one.
Bring it all together.
Is Rockley. So again, Rockley is a project that we picked up based off a survey that was done by the New South Wales government in Kennex back in 2019. It was a porphyry prospectivity model. Kennex have had a lot of success in guiding and being involved with Duke in their exploration acquisition.
Yep.
So when they produced that report, we quickly ascertained that this area of freehold ground was the most prospective for porphyry copper mineralisation in the entire Rockley Gulgong volcanics. So we pegged it, and that was the impetus for us to do that. But what that has meant is that we've ended up with a patch of ground there that's considered by an independent body to be highly prospective for porphyry-related mineralisation. It sits amongst major mining companies like Anglo American, Alcan. It's in the right rock, it's in the Ordovician, so it's the right rock groups. On surface, we've got some historic high-grade copper mines graded up to 23% in their production. It's geochemically anomalous. We've got rock chips on surface, 4% copper. It's just got all the right ingredients, and it's never been systematically explored for a porphyry style of mineralisation. So we're really excited. That's our tail-end project to us to develop in the pipeline. And yeah, we're very excited by what that tenement potentially may hold.
Chris, there's a lot of information to get through this. You're listing on the ASX at the end of August. It's a very exciting time. I'm going to go into how people can get involved. But with these 5 projects, talk to me about the logistics of once you hit the boards as LGM, what's your first target? Is it going to be Belura first? And are you going to just have one rig? Or you take one rig to Belura and then potentially go to, Fontenoy or one of the others?
Yeah, so we're down at Belura first, and we're actually, looking at logistically trying to bring even our drill campaigns to start before we hit the stock exchange at the 26th. And that just affords us a quicker turnaround time for our assays. But once we finish the campaign drill testing the Belura mine, we'll be moving the rigs to Harden. And the Harden tenement has 2 strikes of mines. One's 900 metres long, the other one's around 700. So we've actually got 2 campaigns planned there as well. So within the next, or towards the end of this year, we hope to have finished up 5,000 metres of drilling across those 3 projects. And we're excited about that because when we say 5,000 metres of drilling, we're targeting systems that are mineralised from surface.
Yeah.
And so we're talking lots of holes, shallow, it's very cost effective, and there's a lot of bang for buck when you talk about targeting those high grade shallow systems.
Well, and also you understand the best way to explore and how to do it systematically, as you said before. What's it like working in New South Wales? Are they supportive across the board and lots of results coming out? Are they the assay lab, are the labs getting through these quickly, or is there going to be a bit of lag time for you to get the results out to market?
Yeah, so for the first point around working in New South Wales, we find New South Wales to be an excellent, jurisdiction to explore.
Okay.
We've been operating for some time, 2017. What that has meant for us as a company is building landowner relationships. So that's sort of important, and it's important. Newer companies, it takes time to build those relationships in the community and with landowners, and it's something that we don't have to contend with those issues because we have the security of our long-term operation. In terms of the assay results and the lag time, what we are finding, we diversify where we send our assays. So we have been sending them to labs outside New South Wales to cut down the time. But the times have improved. So we're expecting to receive fairly quick turnarounds. And a lot of that is operational efficiency improvements. Things as simple as instructing the crews, the guys, to only tie a single knot in a bag as opposed to double knotting it. Like stuff like as basic as that improves the times for turnaround. And that's the sort of attention and the focus on detail that we sort of take to really making sure that we're not talking 3 months assay turnaround, we're talking months.
Okay. I'm running out of time and there's so many questions for you guys. This is very exciting. I want to know, first of all, who's the team behind Legacy? As you, Chris, you're the managing director. Who else is there?
Yep. So we've got Tom Wall, who is our executive director and exploration manager. He's an experienced geologist, worked in New South Wales and WA, and he's got a particular focus on the high grade, narrow vein mineralization styles. Our other technical director is Doug Menzies, again, a well-known and reputable geologist. And again, he brings the porphyry epithermal experience to the team. So it's important that we've got the right mix of technical expertise to unpack our different mineral styles.
Yeah.
On the corporate side, I'm an engineer by background, so worked in, for mining companies and really on the operational mine development aspects. We've recently been lucky to appoint Dr. David Carlin to our board as our executive chairman. He stepped off the board of Rex Minerals, and he really liked the legacy, the asset and the team, and he saw a lot of opportunity in really looking at historic legacy projects, drilling them out and re-examining them with new technologies and what they can bring to the table. And then Matthew Wall and Ian Morgan, our CFO and company secretary. Okay,
so good team behind it. First of all, how can people get involved? When are you finishing up? You're raising what, 5 to 7 mil, 20 cents a share. ASX code is LGM. How can people, if they're excited about what you just told us today, how can they get involved?
Yeah, so you can go to the Legacy Minerals website, and on our homepage there, you can download the prospectus and take you to the online application link as well to Atomic. So it's all done online these days, and hopefully that's all fairly seamless for everyone. But I encourage people to have a look at, there's an IPO presentation as well as a prospectus, and have a good read through. But I certainly invite people out there that are looking to get exposure to gold or copper, and the value that discoveries add to shareholders. That's what we're offering.
What's your minimum investment? Just to remind people.
So minimum on the ASX is $2,000. So it's really open to both ends of the market in terms of big institutions and your everyday retail investor.
And have you a lot of interest so far?
Yeah, so we've had a good interest in the lead up to the IPO. The offers opened on Friday, and so we're taking bids, and we're well and truly on the way, which is great news.
Well, congratulations, Chris, because you know what I like? You've got 5 really decent projects with, a good chance of some upside there. Listen, no promises, ladies and gentlemen. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. However, Chris, before we finish up, give me 3 reasons why people should be getting excited about Legacy Minerals. There's others out there, but why Legacy and why now?
Sure, and I think the 3 things that I would say, it's the right rocks, the right location, and the right people. And when I say the right rocks, we're looking for gold and copper. They're in-demand commodities. We've got tenements which have historically produced some significant gold figures as well as other base metal systems. So we know the mineralization's there. It's expressed on surface. It's really about defining the extent and the scale of that mineralization. When I say it's in the right location, the Lachlan Fold Belt, we know that mineralization in the systems that we're exploring for have the potential to turn into mines if the economics work out. We're given confidence by the regional success of other exploration and mining companies. And then lastly, the right people, is that we've got the right team that know how to make the discoveries, and they know how to take them forward and develop them.
Well, Chris Byrne, from Managing Director of Legacy Minerals, about to list on the ASX. As I said before, the code is LGM, but you've got to go to the website because it's an IPO, initial public offering. They're looking to raise money to put it into the ground around the Lachlan Fold Belt, 5 different projects, all very different in their own sense, but all with some historical workings. That means that Chris is feeling reasonably confident of a good future for Legacy Minerals. Chris, thank you so much for joining us on Small Caps today. And once again, legacyminerals.com.au, download that prospectus and get yourselves involved. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you very much, Kerry.